A big thank you to the Coldest Water for sponsoring today's video. Yo, what is going on, guys? Winter Kills here, and today I am very excited to bring to you guys the long-awaited Speedroid deck profile post-Synchro Storm. I know a lot of you guys have been looking forward to this video, and here it is. Not only am I going to be giving you guys a deck profile, but I'll be doing some test hands / combos a little bit later on in the video, so make sure you stick around for that. Of course, we'll do our quick deck profile and the in-depth card by card like we always do, but I am so excited for this one. I know it's going up a little bit later than I said it would. I plan to have the deck profile out when Synchro Storm released, but turns out this deck is very hard to play, and I've been back and forth on a lot of different builds and doing a ton of testing pretty much every day with this deck. Every other thought I've had has just been about Speedroid, and I absolutely love this deck. But needless to say, post-Synchro Storm, this deck is capable of doing some really cool things. And speaking of cool things, if you guys want to get your hands on a really high-quality water bottle that can keep the water inside of it cold for up to 36+ hours, or keep things hot for 12+ hours, definitely check out the Coldest Water at the links below. They sell all different sizes of water bottles, and they come in all sorts of different designs. I've been using this one for almost a month now, I gotta say, and I really don't have any complaints. Nothing is better than waking up to ice cold water, even though it's been sitting out overnight. So you gotta love to see that. And if you guys want to get your hands on one of these water bottles, check out, again, the links in the description. The first link there is a giveaway link. They are doing a giveaway. I think they do one every week where they give away a gallon water bottle that retails, I think, for like 120+ bucks. So if you want to win one of those for free, consider entering that giveaway. And if you guys want to buy anything from the Coldest Water, whether it be a water bottle or anything else they sell on their site, don't forget to use my referral link down in the description, because if you guys shop and check out using that link, a small bit of the revenue from your purchase goes right back into the channel and helps out a ton. Or if you guys want to save, for say, 10% off your entire order on thecoldestwater.com, please don't forget to use code WK at checkout to support the channel and save some money in the process. And another great thing about that is not only do you guys support the channel, but you get something out of it in the process, like a really awesome water bottle. So definitely check them out. And again, a huge thank you to the Coldest for sponsoring this video. Right, so let's go ahead and jump into the quick deck profile. Alright guys, so now it's time to go ahead and go through the entire deck profile one more time, but a lot slower and in a lot more detail. And also, this little OTS Field Center here, I actually won using this deck. Not with this exact list. I think the list I have currently is much better than the one I used to get this Field Center. But I think it was like a 30+ man tournament, ended up getting 5th for one of these nice OTS Field Centers. So, but yeah, let's go ahead and jump into the card by card. The first card we're starting with here is 3 copies of Marble Machine. Marble Machine still tends to be one of the best starters in the entire deck. Synchro Storm really didn't change that. It's still an incredible starter card. It still lets you do your full combo pretty much. The only thing I hate about this card is that it's a pendulum monster. If there's one thing I could change about Marble Machine, it would be make it not a pendulum, and make it so it gets its effect when it's normal or special summon, because you have to keep that in mind. It only gets its effects when it's normal summons. So let's say you make Rubber Band Shooter, banish to 6 to reveal Yo-Yo and Marble. If you get the Yo-Yo, you can't revive, well, you can revive the Marble from grave with the Yo-Yo, but the Marble will not get the effect because it has to be normal summon, so keep that in mind. It also has a pretty unique pendulum effect. It says when one of your wind monsters is, I believe, targeted for an attack while it's in defense position, you can change it to attack position and make it so it can't be destroyed by battle, even if this card leaves the field. So interesting effect. I don't think I've ever resolved it, but, you know, keep that in the back of your mind because it could be, you know, pretty handy for keeping cards like Shen alive in the battle phase if you are playing it. So yeah, 3 Marble Machine, nothing's changed there, really. Then moving on, we have 3 copies of the best extender in the entire deck. That is Terrortop himself. This card gets arguably a lot better now post Synchro Storm. It was already so good to begin with, but now Terrortop on its own is a 1-card Baron de Fleur or a 1-card Crystal Clearwing Synchro Dragon, and you don't even have to commit your normal summon because Red Eye Die helps us access the new Cork Shooter, which helps us access a whole slew of incredible boss monsters with very, very little investment into our play. And of course, not only can we, have a good reason to summon out Red Eye Die now, but we also have access to some other cool Speedroid tuners we can summon, and one of those being the Fuki Madoshi Piper, which you guys saw I'm actually not running in my list, and I know if my friend Adam is watching this, he's going to be upset, because he really wants me to run this card. I like it in theory, but I just hate drawing this card. If it resolves for a lot of cards, to like basically duality or prosperity kind of with it, it's great. It being a level 4 is okay. Its graveyard effect is, I think, a little lackluster. I don't think I've ever resolved it in the time I was playing it. But, like, I just don't want to draw the card. I hate drawing it. You have to have a very specific setup in your combo to, like, take advantage of it. I would say it's only really good turn 3. But at a point, like, you're just kind of throwing monsters onto your field to resolve it, to try to get, a lot of cards deep into the deck to try to find better extenders. I don't know, like, I need to test with it more. Maybe my mind will change on the card going forward, but I just don't like it. Even though we can technically now summon it off a Terrortop board, but that means you're not summoning Dice, you're not summoning Duke, so keep that in mind. And then speaking of tuners, we still have 3 Card Turbo. Still the only Speedroid tuner that can special summon itself from the hand, so hands down you gotta play this card. This card in combination with Hagoita makes Crystal Wing, and we can make multiple of those on our own. And you can also make it before you make Rubber Band Shooter Protect from Nibiru, Valor, Ash Blossom, Gamma, etc. So you definitely got to play this card. And it also has a neat graveyard effect. You can banish it another win to make it so all wind monsters you control gain 800. And it's not a wind you have to banish, but you have to banish another Speedroid. My apologies. But also, speaking of Crystal Wing, I've had a lot of people ask why I don't play the Wind Witch stuff, and it's just because you literally don't need to. A lot of people, you can make Crystal Wing very easily, but like we can already make Crystal Wing on, instantly at the snap of a finger. We can make Crystal Wing if we really want to. So like making Crystal Wing is not an issue. Also, we're not trying to turbo out Crystal Wing anymore since we have cards like Baron de Fleur and Cosmic Blazar Dragon, much more readily accessible. Mainly just Baron de Fleur. So there's no reason to try to like turbo out Crystal Wings anymore, which is really, really awesome. And we also can split up our interruptions into just like an Omni Negate and a Spell Trap Negate, or an Omni Negate and a Monster Negate instead of just Monster Negates. But yeah, 3 card turbo, all the same, still definitely playing it. Same thing here, another card ratio that has not changed. Still to this day, double Denden Daiko Duke, I think, remains the perfect ratio. There is maybe an argument for 3 with the grind game, but like the way I at least have my deck built is it can definitely kill very easily on the following turn in some hands given because of some of the cards I am playing in the extra deck. But Duke, I think, is still great at 2. Like, drawing Duke isn't that bad because like if you can normal summon him or discard him off of Win or Roulette, you get him into the graveyard very early, which means you can use your Terrortop to summon Dice, which allows you to make plays, right off your Terrortop. It allows you to save your Duke effect engrave, so you don't need to like get the Dice to your hand and then use Duke engrave to summon it, because you kind of lose out on an extender there by having to use the Duke early. So yeah, like playing the double Denden Daiko Duke. Still a good level 3 tuner on its own, or an extender in the grave. Then 1 double Yo-Yo. You still play this card just because you do the Banish a 7 to reveal Yo-Yo and Terrortop play a lot. It's still a really good play because now resolving Terrortop to get Terrortop to your hand, to get Dice or add Dice to your hand to summon with Duke is still really, really solid. You get to go into Baron off of that, plus an end phase add back from Puzzle, which is huge for follow-up. And, we do, of course, play the 1 Terrortop. Still, it really needs no explaining. It's the best starter in the entire deck. I only wish this card would come back to 3. The only way I think it's going to come back to 3 is if they actually errata this card to make it so it locks you to wins. Other than that, I don't see this card ever coming back to multiple copies just because of the way the game currently is. And, access to Link 2 and Link Climbing Fodders and free special summons is just really good, it turns out. And then we have one Speedroid Ultra Hound. This card I do like quite a bit. It is a 1-card combo into Rubber Band Shooter because of the new duplicate trap we are playing. But it also, you know, being a walking Foolish Burial is kind of nice because some hands where you don't get access to Duke necessarily, you can get this off of Rubber Band Shooter potentially to get the Duke either on field to bring back a Hagoita or normal it to, you know, dump a Duke to the grave to summon out a dice to be able to go into something like Cork Shooter. And also, like, you guys saw I was playing Foolish. You could actually, like, Foolish the dice, and then this dumps the duplicate drops this by 1, and then you Duke out dice, target duplicate, and make it a level 3. So that is kind of some cool shenanigans you can do with this card. But above all, this card gets you follow up, even if you just have an extra Foolish, or you're discarding this off of Roulette, or Wheel, by the way, as its new name is, or you're discarding this off of Win. This card has a graveyard effect. If it's in the graveyard, except the turn it was sent there during the main phase, you can target a Speedroid monster. First you banish this card, then target a Speedroid monster in your graveyard, shuffle it into the deck, and if you do, special summon a Speedroid Synchro monster from your extra deck with the same level but a different name, but negate its effect. So you can, like, return like a Tekatomborg to your deck and banish the Hound to summon out another Cork Blaster. That allows you to summon back the Hagoita to make something like Kite Drake, and then you could summon another level 3 Synchro Kite Drake and that level 3 into Clearwing Rider and really apply a lot of pressure. Then the last Speedroid monster I'm playing is the one Red-Eyed Die. This is a card that I've seen people play at 2, and I get why. It's like if you roll a 2 on your wheel, you can summon out both Red-Eyed Die and go into Rubber Band Shooter without normal summoning. But, like, you can still just summon out a Marble Machine, which is a level 2, which can help you with any level 3 tuner, Car Turbo, you know, Duke, whatever it may be, to get into Hagoita, which I think is also just, you know, okay. But this card is kind of similar to Piper in my philosophy. Is like, I don't want to draw this card, and if I do draw it, I want to have a way to get it to the graveyard as fast as possible, because, like, seeing this card in the opening hand is just not that great. And I wanted to make this deck as consistent as possible, so that's why I've, like, cut down on the amount of potentially bricky cards like Dice and Fukimadoshi Piper, just again to keep things streamlined and consistent. Then into our, like, sort of auxiliary wind monsters, we have 3 Win the Wind Channeler. This card still remains to be a very, very solid card within the deck. Basically, discard it and any wind monster to add any wind monster from your deck with 1500 or less defense, so it searches out Terrortop. Or, again, literally any wind monster in the deck. Yeah, I don't think there's any wind it can't search right now. I guess it can't search Red-Haired Hasty Horse is the only thing that it can't search. So it searches a lot. Mainly grabs you Terrortop, and this card helps you have some of your strongest openings. This plus Duke is a really strong opening if you go ahead and grab the Terrortop off of it. And it has a battle phase effect too. If a wind monster you control is destroyed by battle, you can summon it from your hand. So that can kind of help absorb damage there, or give you a level 5 on board to be able to make synchro plays with the next turn. Then next up, I have 2 copies of Red-Haired Hasty Horse. So I'm not a huge fan on wind extenders in this deck until I had like a realization. And I think Red-Haired Hasty Horse is like one of the best wind extenders you can play next to like Cockadoodle-Doo, Dinotherium, and I think those are like the only ones, or maybe the Wind Tenny. Those I think like the Wind Tenny and Cockadoodle-Doo conflict with Terrortop, which I don't like. Dinotherium can potentially give your opponent a plus if you're playing Fukimadoshi Piper or Tether Wolf. They can bring that back to their field to potentially block damage with or whatever they want to do with it. But Hasty Horse just tends to be the best. Just because like it's very, very lax when it comes to its summoning conditions. You just need a column with no cards in it, and it just summons itself. And it can also attack directly, but you have its original attack. So like that can like low-key come up in time. It's a 5, so you can make Kite Drake with it again. So like all around really good card. But the way I see this is if I see like, you know, a Marble Machine plus this, it means I can get into Rubber Band Shooter without expending something like Tekatomborg early on in the combo, and I might get more value out of it if I save it for later on in the combo. And then again, you just also have the opportunity to be able to do synchro plays with this card right off the bat too. Or if you normal summon dice with this, you can make Charge Warrior, draw a card, and then continue to combo. So yeah, I just like this because like it lets you save certain extenders you would burn early, you know, otherwise, and you can hold them for later on in the combo when they're more impactful. Like if you have like Car Turbo in your hand and you go like Marble Machine, search the Car Turbo, or search Tekatomborg and you already have a Car Turbo, whatever the case may be, you can summon this, link off, go into Rubber Band Shooter, maybe get Hagoi to access him because you didn't use that card turbo earlier in the turn to summon to the field. You can then summon it later to, you know, synchro with a Hagoi to 4 Crystal Wing. So it just like saves you from like having to burn your extenders early on. And then I play 1 copy of the Tether Wolf. So I was playing 2 in a previous version of this deck, but I decided to cut it down because right now the deck already has 6 normal summons as is. And the general rule of thumb tends to be in a 40 card deck, like don't really play more than 3 or 4, 5 maybe, depending on the deck. But like this deck I think has an exception because like we can normal summon twice in any given combo because of the Rubber Band Shooter. And especially if they Ash Rubber Band Shooter's second effect, we can still use the first effect because unlike Valor and Imperm, it doesn't negate the whole card. But with Tether Wolf, you know, it's searchable off of Win, also searchable off of Small World, which you guys saw I'm playing. Because my one friend Alex pulled it in his box and he was able to move it to me in that boat opening I posted the other day. So shout outs to him. But like this card, like you can do a lot of cool things with it. Because its level increases to 7 while that token is up, you can actually summon a card like Card Turbo or Takatamor, tag into Duke, and synchro into Baron, leaving you an extra token to potentially extend into Rubber Band Shooter with before your 5th summon or on your 5th summon and before you resolve your Rubber Band Shooter. So this card can give you a lot of protection in certain hands if you open it. This plus Tether Wolf is a really, really strong opening. And, you know, they're both one-ofs technically. One has to be a one-of, so you're probably wondering, you know, why make this one a one-of? Again, it's searchable. And, like, it's only, like, the Baron play sounds really good. Like, you can make Baron before your 5th summon or on your 5th summon or before Rubber Band Shooter. But it tends to, like, always be a 3-card combo. You need Tether Wolf plus a level 3 extender, right, to go into Baron. But then you obviously don't want to link your Baron and your token to Rubber Band Shooter because that kind of defeats the purpose. So you need another extender on top of that. So I didn't want to make the deck a 3-card combo deck. I want to make it so if, you know, if I see the right cards, I can go for it, or if I need to go for it, I can. And with Crossout Designator in the main deck, I don't always need to worry about having a protection up like, you know, what is it, the Baron up before I make Rubber Band Shooter. So you know, the crossout kind of takes the weight off of Tether Wolf's shoulders. And it can also out things in the battle phase. Blue Robin, Winda, Darklaw, because of its token tribute effect to make it gain 800 in the damage step. Then I play 3 hand traps here. I play Droll, Ash, and Lancia. And now I'm not playing just one-ofs because, like, you know, I think it's the way to go. These are obviously crossout designator targets. These are also going second cards that I think are very impactful this format. Lancia hits a lot of decks. Ash is just a really good generic hand trap, and Droll is not only searchable in this deck, it's a potential starting target for Small World, but if I need to, I can actually normal summon it, summon a Wind Body, and link into Rubber Band Shooter, so it has like a double purpose just by being a wind. These are all hand traps that tend to hurt the deck. This turns off Rubber Band Shooter, Dendaiko Duke, Card Turbo, a lot of things, turns off Small World. So I want to play it. I thought about possibly playing a Nibiru in here, but I like Lancia, I think, a little bit better because, like, we can play around Nibiru very, very easily just because we can make Crystal Wing so early in a lot of builds, or we can make a Crystal Wing on top of getting Nibiru'd. So that's why I'm playing the Lancia instead, and I just think it tends to be, like, a little bit better card overall this format. Moving into the spells, we have 3 copies of Big Money Droplet. I know this card is very expensive, so if you want a budget alternative, here they are. Forbidden Chalice or Dark Ruler No More. Those are some budget alternatives I could recommend. Or you could just opt to play more hand traps, right? Completely up to you. But Droplet tends to be pretty insane in this deck because, like, in some boards you can play off the gimmick where you control no monsters, you can summon off Terrortop, so that kind of lets you, like, make other plays before you commit the Terrortop. Also break boards with it and then summon the Terrortop too. And also you can, like, discard things off it, like duplicate Duke to the grave to go into boards with and set you up with some extenders in the graveyard. And let's also not forget, this card is absolutely just insane, so that's why I play it. But again, there are budget alternatives like Dark Ruler No More. But, you know, the one trade-off is you can actually kill your opponent through Droplet, but you can't with the Dark Ruler because of the damage restriction. And then moving on, we have 3 copies of Crossout Designator. So this card, there are some good budget alternatives too as well. You could play a copy of 3 copies of the Sky Striker Eagle Booster. You just have to sequence your plays a little bit differently and make sure that you have no monsters on your field by the time you activate the Rubber Band Shooter. then you can protect it from Ash, Imperm, Gamma, Valor, Nib, whatever it may be, right? So you could play that. You could play Forbidden Lance because Imperm hurts this deck a lot. Call by can't stop it, and you can't recover with Talents by, you know, getting hit with Imperm because it's not a monster. But this card I really like in here because I think I have, you know, a good enough space for it, right? I have the 3 hand traps here, the Imperm as well. All hand traps, which, like, really hurt this deck quite a bit. Like, a well-timed Imperm on Rubber Band Shooter or Cork Shooter really can just, like, end your turn. So, like, having a Crossout Designator for those times where you can't get to a Crystal Wing beforehand, before your choke point, or you can't get to a Baron before your choke point, this card really helps out a lot for those situations. So that's why I like playing it. Still not 100% sold on it, but for now I think I like it. Then we have 3 copies of, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, but with 3 copies of Speed Recovery. Basically Monster Reborn in this deck. I know a lot of other people I've seen been playing like Monster Reborn, Iron Call, World Legacy Succession. I like the idea of multiple Reborn spells, but I also don't want to brick on Reborn spells. It's really good to draw them, but, like, again, seeing multiples doesn't let you play. You need cards in grave, obviously. I think Recovery is just the best one to play because it's in theme. It can revive any Speedroid card from the grave, which is good enough. And, you know, its graveyard effect is also insane, giving that follow-up by being able to banish it to add back a Speedroid monster from your grave, except the turn, you know, this card was sent there. So, like, really good card, definitely a 3 of in my opinion, and I don't think I would change it going forward. The next up, we have 2 copies, just 2, of a Speedroid Wheel. This card, you know, I could revolve my deck around it, but I really don't like seeing multiples of these. So I wanted to, like, kind of decrease my chances of seeing 2. It's still gonna happen, and it's still a starter at the end of the day, so, like, I want to, like, play, you know, like, a little bit more than 1. So I think 2 is the perfect ratio. I think 3 definitely clogs a little too much, but for those that don't know what this card does, we can discard a card as cost, roll a 6-sided die, then special summon from your hand and or deck 1 or 2 Speedroid monsters whose total levels equal the result, and if you do not special summon, you lose life points equal to the result times 500. Rolling a 1 off this sucks, but, you know, it is potentially a 1-for-1 at that point, so not even terrible. If you roll a 2 and you're playing 2 dice, you can summon 2 monsters for free, or just summon out another body, so it's basically like a 1-for-1 at that point, but you also get a level 2 body on field to be able to synchro with into Hagoita or the Chanbara. Or if you roll a 3 or above, you get to summon 2 monsters from the deck. And it's also searchable off of Cork Shooter if you need it. Then I play 1 Foolish Burial. This card I like quite a bit in theory over that of Piper. Just because, like, if you open Burial with normal combo, you can actually dump Duke to the graveyard early on. And it lets your Tekatomborg, like, be able to summon other things than just Duke, right? You can get Card Turbo, or you can get Dice. Or if I had room for both of these cards, you could summon Piper instead. And then use your Terrortop to, like, add a Dice later on. But yeah, I like this card. You just get to dump free cards to the graveyard. Dumping things like Terrortop if you open up Recovery, right? That lets you combo. Or dumping a card like Hound for Recovery. Or going ahead and dumping Dice so you don't have to send it off of like a Hound or something else, right? I just like this card as being like an additional extender in some hands. Just getting you access to Duke when you maybe otherwise don't get access to it. So yeah, that's it. Foolish Burial. You know, it's a flex spot in the deck. You can play Upstart, you can play Call By, whatever you want. Then I play 1 Small World because this and any wind gets you to Terrortop. Even revealing any wind lets you search Lancia because Tetherwolf and Lancia both have 1700 attack. So you can get to Lancia with this card with any wind monster. Even Nibiru has 600 defense and so does Terrortop. So if you play like more light hand traps like Valor, you can reveal Valor, reveal Nib, grab Terrortop because they match defenses. But yeah, this is just another consistency card. Maybe if I had a second copy of Small World, I would possibly cut the Burial for another Small World. But I only have 1 right now. Obviously, the deck, the set just came out that has this card in it, so don't have my hands on a set yet, but I may experiment with playing another copy at some point in the future. Then 1 Talents. Good going second card to see. Lets you play through hand traps, and also a good Crossout Designator target. Because you can kind of use Crossout as a trap card, because we do play Droplet, we do play Talents, we do play Imperm, right? All cards that our opponent could use going into our board instead of using on us while we're making our board, etc. So that's why I like playing Talents. And then I play 1 duplicate and 1 imperm. Imperm obviously just a really, really good hand trap this format. For, you know, reasons, it being not a monster, so they can't call by it, they can't recover with talents, and it targets too, so really, really solid. And it's live as your 6th card, and it, you know, it breaks chain links, all that good stuff. Awesome card, so I definitely want to have it in there as a cross-out target. And then 1 duplicate. This card is just compulsed by banishing a wind, and it's searchable off a Cork Shooter, so it's a interruption that you can get for the deck that's not in the form of like a monster. So like your whole boards, if you have the set, doesn't lose to like Dark Roll or Drop, because you still have a interruption in the back line. And it's also, again, searchable, or you can send it to the graveyard off of Hound, and then this can target Hound, make it become level 2, and then right there you can make Cork Shooter, search Wheel, or another copy of the duplicate if you're playing it, or you could just link into Rubber Band Shooter because you have 2 wins on the board just like that. So duplicate is a fantastic card. Love it. I've been back and forth between 1 and 3, but I think 1 is okay for now. I might play a second one in the future though. Now we'll go ahead and move on to the extra deck. So to start with the extra deck, we have 1 copy of the Rubber Band Shooter. There really isn't much to say about Rubber Band Shooter. I'm only playing 1 because like you really only need 1, and there isn't a whole lot of room in the extra deck right now with all the new cards we have to work with to play to. Again, you just need 1. That's really about it. If it resolves, you're in a really good spot. And you can technically recycle it too. If you banish it off Card Turbo and then Chanbara hits the grave, you can add it right back to your extra deck in some boards and make it a second time. So the fact that it's recyclable off of both Chanbara and Clearwing Rider, I think playing 1 is just a-okay. Then we play 2 copies of the new Synchro High Speedroid Cork Shooter. This card is actually insane. Has 2 effects when it's synchro summoned. The first one being add a Speedroid spell or trap from your deck to your hand. Or if all materials that were used for the synchro summon of this card were Speedroid monsters and all are in your graveyard, special summon all of them. That is kind of ridiculous, to be totally honest. It's basically like a soul charge. You can basically summon Terrortop, summon Tekatomborg that you search off the Terrortop, tag in dice, dice make it a 2, synchro for Cork Shooter. Cork Shooter brings back the Terrortop and the dice. Dice makes this a 6, Synchro 4 for Puzzle, and then Synchro 10 for Baron, right? Without even committing your normal summon, and you secure yourself an end phase add back. Like, this card is just bonkers. The only reason I play 2 is because I'm playing Hound. Hound, like I said, I think earlier in the video, can banish itself, return a Speedroid from your grave back to the deck, and then summon a Speedroid Synchro from your extra deck that has the same level but a different name. So you can return a level 3, summon the other shooter, and again, that makes Hagoita live with a level 3 tuner on board to be able to synchro into Kite Drake or Crystal Wing, which is very important starting on your following turn. So that's the only reason I play 2. If I wasn't playing Hound, I probably wouldn't play a second one, so keep that in mind. Then I play 1 Puzzle. This card, like, it doesn't do anything on its own, right? It's just mainly to recur things back in the end phase because you can make this card so easy now. It basically acts as like GG if it's sent to the graveyard as a synchro summon monster during the end phase. And at the start of the damage step, if this card battles a special summon monster, you can make this card's attack become double its current attack until the end of the damage step. So like, that is actually pretty cool because if you have Card Turbo in grave, you can boost this up to 21, and then damage set this thing goes up to 42 to beat over a Dragoon, which can be very advantageous in some boards. And then we have our 2 level 5s, which are Hagoita and Chanbara. Hagoita, not really much to say about this card. If we control a Speedroid tuner and it's in the grave, we can just summon it back as a level 5 body. And Chanbara can, you know, swing for a ton of damage. And if it hits the graveyard, we add back a banished Speedroid card back to our hand, our Speedroid monster. Then we have 1 level 6, that's the Charge Warrior. You know, gaining advantage mid-combo and then synchroing into Baron or Shen or whatever it may be is really, really nice. And it's also a good target to banish off a Rubber Band Shooter in some hands because you can reveal the Terrortop and the Hound and get a really good normal summon regardless of what you get. And then the 2 7s, we play Wind Pegasus at Ignister. Mainly you're just banishing this off of Double Yo-Yo like 95% of the time, or off of a Rubber Band Shooter. And then I play the Clearwing Synchro Dragon to be able to access the Crystal Clearwing Dragon. And I like this over Fast Dragon currently because if I have Baron up, Baron can actually bring this out during the standby phase, unlike you know, the Crystal or the Clearwing Fast Dragon, because that's a pendulum and doesn't hit the grave. So yeah. 2 level 7s, and then our level 8s, Kite Drake, insane going second card, either wipe every other card in the field or negate the effects of all face-up cards our opponent currently controls. Double Crystal Wing, because we can make these both like the snap of a finger, just very, very easy to get into with Hagoita and any level 3. Then moving on, we have, I think, 2 of like the most like important cards that this deck has access to now, and that kind of solved a lot of the problems this deck has had for many years and months. Is Baron de Fleur and Crystal Clearwing Synchro Dragon. So at least post Rise of the Duelist, the best end boards we could typically and consistently make was double Crystal Wing. And the main issue with that was always that you had no access to any Omni Negates or Spell and Trap negation. But Baron de Fleur and Crystal Clearwing Synchro Dragon fixed that age-old problem. I mean, at the cost of a pretty penny, to be fair. You don't have to play this. You could play Stardust Warrior because you can make it off of that one Terrortop play just as easy. And you could also play like Shen instead, right? But I think Stardust Warrior is a really good replacement. And then like the Baron de Fleur, Omni Negate, once while it's face up in the field, keep that in mind. If you use the negate during your turn, it won't have a negate during the next turn. At least that way I understand the card text. It also can just pop a card on the field and destroy it only during your turn. And then during the standby phase, you can return this card to the extra deck and target level 9 lower monster in your graveyard and special summon it. And its effects aren't negated. So like, if let's say like you have Baron and Crystal Wing up, right, and you negate with the Crystal Wing, maybe they clear the Crystal Wing, but they don't clear the Baron. Baron can actually just tag out into Crystal Wing to, like, you know, during your standby phase to give you an additional interruption to work with while you play out your next turn. So Baron is just absolutely insane. If you can afford it, if you love playing Speedroids, definitely invest in this card. It's really good generic synchro regardless at the end of the day, and probably just good to have overall. And then we have Crystal Clearwing Synchro Dragon. Needs 1 tuner synchro plus 1 non-tuner Clearwing monster, so Cork Shooter plus Clearwing Synchro Dragon gets us into this. Once per turn, when your opponent activates a monster effect, except during the damage step quick effect, you can activate this effect until the end of the turn. This face-up card is unaffected by the activated effects of your opponent's monsters. Also, this card gains attack equal to that opponent's monster's original attack. So, like, if your opponent tries to Dragoon negate your Baron, you can chain Crystal Clearwing to make it gain the 3000 attack that originally has. And then it's a 6k monster that's unaffected by your opponent's monster effects. And on top of that, it's also a quick effect Spell and Trap negation. It can negate the activation of Spell and Trap cards and destroy them. And also, I guess, you know, stepping back a second, this card negates Spell and Trap activation, so if you're negating a Spell or Trap card your opponent has that says you can only activate one of them once per turn, and that you can only use one of them once per turn, be very careful, because if you negate, per se, a talent says you can only activate, and they have another talent, they're just going to hard punish you by activating the talents again. So be careful how you use that Spell and Trap negate. But then it says, if this Synchro Summon card you control is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card, so by battle, card effect, or whatever, you can add a win monster from your deck to your hand. So that's pretty awesome right there. Lets you get follow-up if this card dies. Otherwise, you get to keep this absolute unit of a monster. And don't worry, I will be getting my hands on a Ghost or a copy very, very, very soon. Actually, in just like 2 days from when I'm recording this. Then last but not least, I have 1 copy of the High Speedroid Clearwing Rider. Now, I know I didn't talk about Shen. This is a card I think I'm going to side, actually, for particular matchups, or if I know I'm going first against a deck that this card really, really hurts. But right now, I just don't have room for it. And I really like the Clearwing Rider because, like, this card lets you just close games like it's nobody's business. You roll a 1, you bare minimum get to shuffle back 1 win from your grave into the deck, and then get to non-target destroy one of your opponent's cards. It takes 1 Wind Tuner plus 1 non-Wind Tuner Synchro, and it's 11. So, like, you know, with Hound and stuff, like, Hound can bring out Cork Shooter, that brings out Hagoita, and then you Synchro into Kite Drake, right? Kite Drake negate everything they have, or attempt to blow up every other card, and then you summon, like, a Tekatomborg, Tag for Duke, or summon a card Turbo, Synchro those 2 into Clearing Rider because 8 plus 3 is 11. And then you have this card to clear even more cards. which is insane. Now, I'll read the effect off really quickly. Once per turn, during your main phase, you can roll a 6-sided die and shuffle wind monsters from your graveyard into your deck up to the result. Then you can destroy cards your opponent controls up to the number shuffled, and if you do, this card gains 500 attack for each card destroyed by this effect until the end of the turn. So this card has the potential to gain, what, 2,500 attack if you... or no, more than that. It gains 3,000 attack if you destroy 6 cards and shuffle 6. Which puts it up to 6,500, and then card turbo on top of that gets it up to 73. So this card can almost one-shot your opponent. And then during your opponent's main phase, quick effect, you contribute this Synchro Summon card as cost. Special summon up to 2 level 7 wind Synchro monsters with different names from each other from your extra deck. So you could summon out Clearwing Fast Dragon and Clearwing. You could summon out Wind Pegasus and Clearwing, or, you know, Fast Dragon, Wind Pegasus, whatever you want to do. You can summon it off of this card. I don't really typically resolve that effect. I technically can because I have 2 level 7s in the extra, but it is a cool thing to keep in mind. And also the first effect, to roll and shuffle and destroy, is not a hard once per turn. So if you summon Dice and make this card a level 2, since it is a Speedroid monster, you can actually synchro these into Cork Shooter. Cork Shooter will bring these back, and then you can actually use the effect of Clearwing Rider again. And then you can even make this a 4, right? Use the effect, roll dice, and then make a Goita, then make Crystal Wing, right? So many cool things you can do with it being a Speedroid card on, you know, on top of its already really good effect. So that's it for the extra deck. Now I'm going to show you guys 1 or 2 combos really fast. Alright guys, so for our first combo, we're going to start with just Tetherwolf and Terrortop, and I'm going to show you guys what you can do with these 2 cards. So first and foremost, we're going to start by special summoning the Terrortop to go ahead and add a copy of Tether. Then we'll normal summon the Tetherwolf to go ahead and summon a level 3 token. At this point, we're going to go ahead and summon out the Tether while we control Wind, tribute it off to go ahead and summon a Speedroid Tuner from the deck, and we're going to summon out Den Daiko Duke. Now, at this point, Tetherwolf is a level 7 because of its effect, because it gains the levels of all Mega Phantom Beast token levels on the field, so 4 plus 3 is 7, and then 7 plus 3 with the Duke is 10, and that's going to allow us to synchro into Baron de Fleur. So if they have Nibiru, they have to use it before we get to this point, or else it's going to be too late. So now we're going to go ahead and link off the Terrortop and the token into a copy of the High Speedroid Rubber Band Shooter. We're going to activate its effect here, and we're going to banish a 5. And off of this, we're going to reveal a Marble Machine and a Ultra Hound. So worst case scenario, right, let's say we get the Ultra Hound to our hand. We activate the effect of Rubber Band Shooter to get an additional normal of a wind monster, so we normal summon the Marble Machine. Marble Machine is going to go ahead and add us a copy of the Card Turbo. We summon Card Turbo, and then we go ahead and synchro into a copy of a Goita, and then we use the Duke we have engraved to banish itself to go ahead and bring out the Card Turbo to synchro into a copy of the Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. So that's sort of like the unlucky path, right? But if we per se don't get the Hound and we get like the Marble Machine, or if we don't get the Marble Machine, we get the Hound, things sort of change a little bit. So we normal summon the Hound. Hound is actually going to go ahead and send the red-eyed die to the graveyard. And then from here, we're going to use the Duke in the grave to bring out the dice, make the Hound a level 2, and go ahead and synchro into a copy of Cork Shooter. Cork Shooter is going to activate its effect to bring back the materials, or you could go ahead and search a copy of Duplicate if you want a bounce. Maybe that just wins you the game right there on the spot, so go ahead and search that. But for this particular hand, we're going to use the effect to revive the materials. We're going to use dice to make Hound a level 7, and then we're going to synchro those into a copy of Clearwing Synchro Dragon, and then synchro these into a copy of the Crystal Clearwing Synchro Dragon. So those 2 cards either get you Baron plus Crystal Wing, or it gets you Baron plus Crystal Clear, and you still have 3 cards left in your hand at that point to do whatever you want with, and you have the follow-up in that of Ultra Hound in your graveyard. And if you got the unlucky path, you get the follow-up of Hagoita in the grave too, which is really, really strong, especially if you have Ultra Hound in grave, which you would. So that sets up rank 8 or a level 8 synchro plays on the following turn. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys one more combo. Alright, so for this next combo, you're just going to need Terrortop and Marble Machine, or it could be Terrortop and Tekatomborg, or Terrortop and Car Turbo. I don't think it really makes too big of a difference on which two you start with, so long as you have the Terrortop plus a good starter slash extender. So we're obviously going to start with the Terrortop. Terrortop is, of course, going to go ahead and search us out a copy of the Tekkatomborg. Then we normal summon the Marble Machine effect to go ahead and add us a copy of Car Turbo, right? So we have the other two pieces now. Now we're going to go ahead and summon out the Tekkatomborg and tag him out for that copy of Dendaiko Duke, wherever he may be. So there's the Duke. And then from here, we're going to go ahead and Synchro into Hagoita. And this combo is a little bit more foolproof than against Nibiru than the last one. Because this is summon 1, 2, 3, 4. This is our 5th summon. So if they Nibiru here, we still end on a Crystal Wing because we have Duke plus Car and Hagoita. But if they don't have the Nibiru, we get to summon the Car Turbo and Synchro these into a copy of Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. And then from here, we're going to use the effect of Duke Engraved to revive the Car Turbo, and then the effect of Hagoita to summon itself. And at this point, we're going to link off both the Terrortop and the Car Turbo into Rubber Band Shooter, and Rubber Band Shooter is going to banish a 5 yet again here to go ahead and reveal a 4 and a 1 in our deck. And you could probably guess what those cards are. One's going to be Dice, and one is going to be the double Yo-Yo. So there are two paths to this, obviously. With like every Speedroid combo, we have an unlucky path and a lucky path. So let's go ahead and go over the unlucky path first. The unlucky path is going to involve us normal summoning the Red-Eyed Die for our additional normal, targeting the Hagoita, making it a level 2, and Synchro summoning into a copy of Cork Shooter. Cork Shooter will then bring back the materials, and right here you have quite a few options. You can actually make this a 4, Synchro these into Charge Warrior, draw a card, and then Synchro into Baron. Or here you could make this a 6, Synchro into 7, and then Synchro into Crystal Clear. You could not manipulate levels and make a second Crystal Wing, right? There's a lot of things you can do here, so it's basically just up to your imagination. But I think making Baron is also just really good, or you can make this a level 5 and make Baron. But I like going for this play where we make this a 4, we Synchro into Charge Warrior, draw a card, and then Synchro into the Baron to floor. Just like that. So it's Crystal Wing, Baron, unlucky path, plus draw 1. Yeah, right, unlucky. But what if we get the double Yo-Yo, right? What changes? Well, just a little bit changes here. So we're going to go ahead and put this into the graveyard. This back into the extra deck, right? We'll put our little draw 1 back. So we get this, and the dice goes to the grave. So additional normal of Yo-Yo. Yo-Yo is going to bring out the dice, and we still have the Hagoita on the field at this point, by the way. So then we're going to make the Yo-Yo a level... actually, we can leave the Yo-Yo on board. We're going to make the Hagoita a level 2 and Synchro off with these to go ahead and bring out the Cork Shooter. And Cork Shooter can revive all of these materials. So once we bring back our materials in the Red-Eyed Die and the Hagoita, we have quite a few options. I mean, not much changes from the unlucky path because we're still resolving Cork Shooter here at the end of the day with Hagoita and Dice. So we could still make Shooter a 4, Synchro 6 for Charge Warrior, draw a card, make Baron. Or we could Synchro 6 here, make Charge Warrior, make Shen by not manipulating the level of Shooter. Or we could make Shooter a 6 and Synchro the Shooter and the Hagoita into Clearwing Rider if we're going second. We could just make another Crystal Wing. So the benefit to getting the extra body here really only matters if we have another extender in our hand. So let's say we had Speed Recovery. We could make Yo-Yo a 6, Synchro into the Clearwing, and then either make Baron with these two or make Crystal Clear. And then, like I said, if we have the extender and that of Speed Recovery, we can bring out the Car Turbo from the grave and then Synchro these into a Crystal Wing. So our end board could either look something like double Crystal Wing and Baron, or double Crystal Wing and Crystal Clear. Really depends on the particular matchup what is more valuable at the end of the day. So those are the two combos I wanted to go ahead and show you guys. And that is actually going to wrap it up for this Speedroid deck profile. One deck, 1 month is going to be starting very, very soon. I think the first episode of Speedroid should be going up next Saturday, so be on the lookout for that. And thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see more of my content, click on one of the videos popping up at the bottom of the screen right now. And as always, Winner Kills signing out. We'll see you guys in the next one. And of course, a huge shout out goes to our Divine level channel members, and they are Cadillacs84, Pony Stark, Keith Sidgers, Tweeter0226, and Black Ninja Money. Thank you guys so much as always for your extremely generous support.